Welcome back to another episode. I'm going to give you a minute to do what you need to do. You guys already know what you need to do. So I'm going to give you a minute to do so get it done. Okay, so today, you guys, we're going to be discussing a very serious subject that I'm pretty sure everybody knows about. Um, but we're going to be talking about Jeffrey Dahmer, the Milwaukee cannibal killer. And honestly, I have to say, after watching the Netflix show that I'm pretty sure everybody has seen, after watching it, I'm just like horrified, honestly. Like, I hate to bring up the details. I'm not going to get in too deep because I know it's probably very sensitive to some people. So I'm not going to bring up too many details about what happened. But if you've seen the show, if you watched basically the coverage of the case, you will know what happened with Dahmer and to his victims. Most of his victims were African American. And as an African American myself, that's pretty alarming. Very alarming, actually. So when I heard about how he was killing his victims and how the police weren't doing anything, I wasn't surprised because when you watch the real interview of Dahmer, um, I don't know if you guys noticed or if you've watched it, you can notice that his demeanor is so calm and chill. And as a and psychopaths have that ability to do that. Like he was sitting down talking to the interviewer like he did nothing. And that's very scary. Very scary when I saw it because he explained how he killed, what he did with the body parts. I remember there was a 14-year-old boy. I'm so sorry to that family who had to suffer from that one. But that was really hard, very hard for me to see. And he cut his head. He eviscerated or decapitated his head and put it in the refrigerator. If you don't know what Dahmer's goals is with his victims, usually he basically takes his victims, drugs them, murders them while they're unconscious, cuts them up basically, does all kind of things to the parts. Usually once he does that, he does sexual acts. He performs sexual acts on those things. Um, and it's very horrifying. Like it really is. Like I honestly almost threw up to my stomach seeing that. There was another scene in the show where he used the actual human meat from one of his victims and tried to feed it to the neighbor who was steady trying to complain that this man was crazy. And I forgot her name. Let me see. Dahmer. Uh, Dahmer. What's the name? Dahmer. Neighbor name. Yeah, it's really horrible. Her name was Glenda Cleveland. I thought of that, but I didn't know if it was correct or not. But yeah, so it's horrifying. Like it's really bad. And so she was steady trying to complain and let the police know, like this man is crazy. This man is crazy. Y'all not even doing nothing about it, and they wasn't doing nothing about it, which is the really horrible part of the story. But because he was so calm and so like unexpectedly like cool, you would have never suspected that it would be him. And I'm not gonna lie, like this case particularly, it's and I know this is gonna sound like really bad. Like I know this is gonna sound bad, and I don't want it to sound like racist towards whites. But it's stuff like this that makes me scared of white men. Like seriously. Like white men are really scary. And I hate to say this, I hate to put like stereotypes on white men. But if we be real, like African Americans have done some pretty psycho things. I'm not gonna lie. Like I'm not gonna, lie for the blacks and say that African Americans haven't done psycho things because, there are a lot of African Americans who have done some crazy things. But the extent that white men take, it's so unequal to the level of just craziness. It's ridiculous. And that's why I'm like afraid of white men, because white men are they're just insane. Like I'm not gonna lie, they're just it's crazy. And I hate the way that sounds. I don't want that to sound like really I know that sounds like really bad, but it's like the truth. Like white men are scary. They really are. Like the way they act, it's just it's scary. Like it just really is scary. So, like I said, I don't want to make like generalizations on like white men to make it sound like I don't want it to sound like that. But I am like after seeing that, I am like really afraid of white men. I'm not gonna lie. Like I really am afraid of white men. But I remember my friend was in the classroom and she said it too. She was like, I'm scared of white men, and I'm like, girl, I'm scared with you. You're not the only one, girl. I'm scared right along with you because that was crazy. Like, who has the ability to do something like that? Like, it's just insane. So I was like, girl, I'm scared with you. You is not the only one. Like, seriously. But like I said, I know that sounds like horrible. I don't want it to sound like I'm being, racist, like against whites. But I just want to like be for real. Like it's scary. Like that's a scary thing for someone to do. For them to cut them up, put their pieces in the refrigerator, drill holes in their head. There was even one experiment that he tried to do where basically he tried to do. I forgot what it was, but it was basically to try to keep the person's head alive after he decapitated the head. So he did a lot. He did a lot of psycho stuff. Like I'm not gonna lie, he did a lot of psycho stuff. I remember in an interview he was like, what did he say? Um, uh, he said he had these compulsions, and he was like, the interviewer was like, "Do you still feel like that you have these urges?" He said, "As much as I wish they would go, yes, I still do have these urges." And I was like, "That's crazy." And they should have gave him like death, like seriously, they should have did. But in the end, an inmate, and I'm not saying that this was well, it was justice to a lot of people. Um, but basically, a man in prison, a black man in prison, um, killed the man, killed Dahmer. I forgot how he did it, but he killed him, and he basically said for he didn't do it for justice, but he did it because he didn't like what he did to that 14-year-old boy. Which I mean, I don't even think he was 14. I believe he was like 13, 14. He was like he said the black man in prison didn't like what he did to the 14-year-old, what he did to that 14-year-old boy, which is why he killed him. He said I believe that was the only reason why he did it actually. He said he didn't do it for like the victims or anything like that, but he did it for so it was pretty deep. I could definitely say that. It was pretty deep. But one thing I can say from all of this is that, you know, you have to be careful, just not even just like about stuff like this, but about your surroundings. I felt so bad for the neighbor because the neighbor kept trying to warn them and let them know that this man is a psycho, that he's crazy. But no one would believe her, unfortunately, which was the really sad part about it. But in the end, justice was served. Unfortunately, it took them 17 victims long to do it, but at least it was done. I can say that. At least it was done, is all I can say. Um, but yeah, tell me guys' opinions. Like that case was something else. I'm just not gonna lie. That case was something. It really was. It definitely was something else. I can say that the least. But you guys tell me your opinions on that. But thank you guys for listening in. I hope you enjoy today's episode. You guys already know what to do. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. It ain't nothing new. Check out the website. You guys already know what to do. It's the same thing. Nothing has changed. As far as I've known, nothing has changed. So, yeah. So, thank you guys for listening in. And, yeah. Bye bye, guys.